Hey everybody, happy morning, Monday morning of all. And so today you don't see my screen share. I'm not actually going to be stepping through some really cool thing I learned in AI and so on. But instead today, what I'm actually going to talk about is something a little bit different. I kind of wanted to twist things around a little bit and talk about the things that we're not doing in AI. So as a software company, AI has had a huge impact on our industry, and there's articles, YouTube blog posts, Spotify podcasts all over the place about how you can use AI to streamline, build efficiency, minimize headcount, all these things. But what I'm looking at is I want to take a look at in this quick podcast. Any of you who know me know that quick is more of a joke than literal. Um, what are we able to create as far as opportunity for our teams in the company from AI? So, in a lot of the different technological advances back to the automobile, back to, the internet and, you know, uh, what do you call it? Assembly line manufacturing, things that would really displace, you would think at the time there was a lot of panic and anxiety of we are going to displace all of these people. And, but then it ultimately didn't. It created new opportunity, it created new jobs. And so there's a lot of discussion in my mind, and we should be having around what is this going to create for us in in the next 6 to 12 months. And I mean, 6 to 12 months is an easy number to throw out because it's who knows what's going to happen in 6 to 12 months, but 3 to 5 years, whatever in the future. I guess what is AI going to create for people? And I would argue that some of these organizations that are reducing staff headcounts and all that kind of stuff are actually setting themselves up for potential challenges, because as these new skills and as these new job opportunities get created, the people that you've reduced or you've laid off or you've you know sent to another company won't be available to you anymore. And so this takes me back to earlier in the year. I had a conversation with the team at ClickBid, and I said, okay, imagine that every day you can measure what you're doing on a level or a funnel of how much time or where you're spending your time. And so the bottom half, the bottom 50% are you're answering, what, where, and how questions. So, from an account management standpoint, if somebody says, hey, where do I find this feature, or how do I saw this and I think I want to use this, how do I do this? There's a lot of mechanical questions. And the value of those questions is really high, because this how is going to help me as a nonprofit build a better event and do things, the way that we would recommend. So I need the answer to that question so I can move forward. Now, I don't need to build this meaningful relationship around this question. I just need the answer so I can keep moving. That is where AI is exceptionally helpful, because an AI is sitting around waiting to answer a lot of those questions. And those are safe questions for an AI to answer. It's either on this page or it's not on this page. This button, this feature, this thing that you turn on is either there or it's not there, and the AI is going to help you do it. The AI is not going to tell you, how to plan your event and, how to think through, better optimizations and stuff like that. I mean, it will try, but wouldn't that be better to be given to somebody who has spent years going to events, seeing events, and so on? So we have a staff in our company. When I look at my team, I think we have some of the most experienced, boots on the ground, actual practical experience people than any other platform in our space. And what do I mean by that? We've been around for 23 years. All of our staff go to events. We ask all of them to go sit at the check-in table, at the checkout table, help people place bids, receive the paddle raises and so on. So that way our developers can see how the software is used to make improvements. Our account management team can actually see an event planner running around like crazy trying to solve questions last minute about everything related to the event and so on. So we have experience that's not at the mercy of an argument, meaning if an AI or if somebody who doesn't have the experience tells you should do this, our experience will carry a lot more weight and give us a lot more confidence. Well, that was a lot, but what do I mean by all that? What I mean is that's the top half of that funnel. So the bottom half was the what, where, how. This is the why questions. So why? I watched a video that you were doing, or I looked at a tutorial, I looked at a how-to. Why are you telling me that I need to do this? And so that is a great question that also needs an answer so that the nonprofit can keep moving. But it's not just a simple question that an AI can give you a very mechanical answer, but a person can say, hey, this is why we do this. This is the experiences that I've seen at this event. And this is how I think you should consider this going forward. But give me your feedback. So there's a back and forth dialogue. We're answering the why. We're trying to create an opportunity so that the nonprofit can employ this thing that they're trying to get some answers on and use it to make more money. And that's really obviously the ultimate goal is we want nonprofits to go from, you know, X to X plus Y. We want people to add to what they did last year. Even our repeat nonprofits. Hey, we tried this year. We worked it out pretty well this year. Next year, help us a little bit sooner with some of these why things, and we're going to make it even better. And so, I think what's really important for our team, I look, like I said, I look at everybody on my team, and I think every single one of them has some experience in this. Talking to, being with, and it's not something they just started doing yesterday. This is something that they've been after, they've been working on. I mean, some of our staff have been to probably over 100 events all over the country, different styles and types and so on. And so there's really nothing they haven't seen that they can't think through logically because of experience. And that's really not something we plan to ever replace with an AI. It's not like I can ask these individuals, and myself included, I've been to probably the same number of events over the 23 years that I've been doing this. I'm not going to be able to download all of that knowledge into some kind of AI system. Now, AI will support me in buffering some of those other questions of, how do I send a mass message? How do I open my auction early? How do I require credit cards? How do I set up, where do I go to set up my merchant processing? Those are great questions in the AI, and we're using AI right now to make that happen. So for the rest of this quick, I love that, dialogue, I'm going to just list a few things that we're not doing with AI, kind of a little spin on the whole, how can AI make our lives better? Well, how is AI not helping us right now? So the biggest thing is AI has not replaced our team. We don't look at our company and say, ooh, now is our time to build some sort of efficiency. And you hear that a lot in some larger companies that are backed by venture capital or private equity. Those markets are really under a lot of pressure right now to prove the value of AI. And so in order to do that, what better way to prove, in air quotes, specifically, that AI is providing value by laying off people? And in my mind, I think that's a big mistake because, like I said, if my staff can go up a level and they can answer those why questions, think about how many more times they can help not just answer the question, but present a solution that they see coming that hasn't even happened yet. So that's really something that I get excited about is my team can now be more proactive. AI can assist us in that by pointing out some of the facts of the event, and then our staff, through their experiences, can see some of them as, no, I don't see what I should be seeing. I'm going to go reach out to my nonprofit that I'm working with and give them that information, and they can go after addressing it before the event starts. The interesting thing about our industry is that once the event is over, it's over. It's not like, a CRM, or it's not like, I don't know, an event registration or something like that. It's, with our events, like on a Saturday night or a Thursday night at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night, it's over. You don't get to go back and redo something that maybe you made a mistake with. That's it. Like you walk away, that's what you generated for your nonprofit, and you're done. And the goal is to not send everybody home exhausted so that they want to take the next 4 days off either. You want them to go home happy. The organization, your donors obviously go home happy, have a great experience, not feel like they've been taxed with an extra fee at the end of the event, or they've had to do some crazy thing and stand in line for half an hour because things were backed up. And we want that stuff to go really well. But again, we only get really one pass at it. So we want to make sure that we're helping people proactively. And this is why I think it's a huge mistake to downsize your team and to get rid of people in the favor of AI. Now, what have we done? With AI, we actually use it after hours. So our staff, we work 9 to 5 Eastern Standard Time, and we actually have amazing, wonderful people sitting in front of the chat so that they can answer questions in real time. Because again, they know by experience that the answer to the question uh, can't come fast enough. And especially for those where, how, and what questions. So they can answer those. And after hours, we've never really had a great solution because, we have knowledge base and we really work hard to keep our knowledge base up to date and current and up to date and current. That's kind of the same thing, but up to date and easy to read so that you can find what you're looking for. But now we also use some AI after hours that people can use to ask questions and bring those articles to them instead of them having to try and figure out which one to search for and which one to find. And so, but what we haven't done, this is a big distinction. And I'll argue this is a big differentiator between a company that is embracing AI and a company that is using AI as an efficiency tool, period, and all efficiencies. We're creating AI in places that we haven't been able to operate. But during the day, 9 to 5, and after hours when somebody's conducting an event, one of the things that we really pride ourselves on is, again, nonprofits need answers. They don't want to chit chat with Matt on the phone on Saturday night at 9 o'clock at night. They just want to know that they set up their auction to close properly. Matt, can you take a look at this? And they don't want to send an email because who knows if that's ever going to get anywhere. They need to make a phone call, they need to send a text message, and they need to know that the person on the other side of that is somebody who knows what they're looking at and can look at that instantly and say, yep or nope, we need to fix something. So we will never get rid of our on-call support. It's one of the greatest things that we have that helps us continue to grow and continue to make sure that nonprofits don't fall flat at 11 o'clock at night after the event. So AI does not replace that. And we are not even actually building anything to replace that. If anything, we're trying to create better knowledge-based articles for our team to be able to answer quicker and better when they answer the phone or respond to a text message. Now, the other thing we haven't done from the software standpoint is we haven't used AI to replace our code. There's a huge push now. I think Google and OpenAI and Anthropic would like nothing more than to brag about how an agentic AI solution has replaced 10s, 20s, 30 number. I mean, that is the ultimate validation that they're looking for, because again, they're the price to earnings ratio on these organizations is massive. If they don't start justifying this soon, they're going to have a reset or a right sizing that will create a lot of economic fallout. And so anybody that can come along and say, we replaced our entire development team with AI is going to get press, is going to get exposure from all of these AI companies because that's how they justify it. But when you spend every single day playing with AI like I do, because if you've watched any of my other videos, I get really pumped about certain things that AI can do. What I think the best example of what I've learned in all of it is, I forget who said it. I actually heard the quote a little while ago and I can't remember. I don't want to pretend like I know who said it, but it is a quote, it's not mine, is that AI is really good at all the stuff in the middle. Asking the question, dealing with the results, those are the bumpers. At the beginning, you have to know the question to ask. At the end, you need to know what to do with the output. But in the middle, AI is exceptionally good at that stuff. So what does that do for me? It helps me think more clearly about what I want. It helps me think about features and what's possible and how things might work together and have relationships with different types of data sets. But then when the AI gives me something, at the end, I know what to do with it. I have to know what to do with it. And without those two complements, if you're going to use AI to help you look at code, to debug code, to maybe even quality test some code, you have to have that validation, those bumpers where people are knowing what questions to ask. Otherwise, I just don't see how that works. And I think what organizations are trying to do is they're trying to rewrite a lot of their processes so that AI can take over. But instead, what AI can do is support. When Microsoft came out with Visual Studio, it was great because now I have a piece of software that helps me write code better. I can see it more visually. You can add in plugins. You can, have things autocomplete and so on. It can, visually organize my files. I no longer have to use a command line to keep track of where everything is and use the Finder to keep track of where everything is in my project. Just like now, AI is helping us write code faster, but it doesn't but really it doesn't replace. It's almost like a pair to that person that has been writing code all this time. And so it gives them maybe some validation, maybe some confirmation of, a second opinion, where you can, again, on the end of that input, or on the end of that data that AI generated, you now have some output that you can look and evaluate. And so we have no intention of ever replacing our development team with an AI. Will I be on the cutting edge trying to learn some new fancy AI, coding agentic thing? Yeah, because I want to stay in the loop. But how does that filter down into the people who I really trust to build our code? Those guys and girls are amazing. They cannot be replaced. Their talent is, like up here, and their PhD level software QA, software development, there's just not a replacement for that. Now, can they use it to support some of the things they're doing? Absolutely. Maybe there's some functions that just need to be built for utility, and they can go grind that out and take a look at it in a pull request and see that it's good. But again, they're taking the output and they're validating it. It's those bumpers again. So anyway, I just, it felt like something to say about, as we go into, 2026, we're ending up 2025, and man, it was a crazy year. The things that I'm doing today with product creation and product concepts is absolutely remarkable. I'd like to think that I am a big piece of that because I get to create the questions and the input that then gets sent into the process to be output, and then I can evaluate that output. And in the middle, AI is helping me sneeze. Excuse me. Man, AI is helping me build that middle and make it a little bit more efficient and opening doors that I just couldn't open before. So I am very excited about that. But I think the big distinction as we start moving into 2026 is how are companies going to see AI as a complement to their team, not a replacement. There's an awful lot of temptation in the space, and certainly as a founder and a CEO, I understand that I can spend the top dollar on an AI agent from Claude or Google or Copilot, and it's still a fraction of the cost of, say, my salary or anybody else's salary. But I challenge people to look at that and say, that's not the comparison you should be making. The comparison you should be making is, how do I look at every one of the people on your team and say, how does this person get moved into the why area of the funnel? How do they answer those why questions? I'm slowing down here a little bit because this is, to me, the kind of the crux of this. The takeaway is that how do I move my team into the why and actually turn my company into a proactive instead of a reactive? Because AI is always going to be reactive. Yes, it'll make some random suggestions that will probably send you down a rabbit trail that you will then have to create solutions for from your own intuition and your own reasoning. Instead, let that AI support the people that have the talent in your company to do even more and to be better and to operate at a higher level so that they can, instead of raising $50,000, the why questions helped you get to $60,000 at no additional cost. You didn't spend any more time. You didn't spend any more money. You didn't have to change the experience in any way other than just to make that extra $10,000 at your event, your fundraising event. Those are kind of the unlocks that I see in the next 12 months by companies who see AI as a tool to support, not replace their staff and their teams and their processes and so on. So yeah, it might sound like I'm splitting hairs, but I really do think this is going to be a big differentiator going forward. And I think something that, in my space, I think nonprofits need to be looking at, but in any space, I think you need to be looking at that and saying, how are the companies that I work with using AI to support their team instead of efficiency and reduce their team? So anyway, take that, and put that in the old backpack of knowledge, and maybe there's something in there for you. I hope there is.